Toronto condo chaos. Woof. You got the one going bankrupt, the most famous building in, I would argue, Canada, I guess. Then you also have another big builder not paying their trades. And then you also got people saying 14,000 units are being canceled for condos right now. What the friggin' diggity-do is happening right now? I'm gonna explain all that on this week's reaction video. Now, if you're looking for some help on how to navigate this real estate market, and if you're a little bit concerned about this because you're caught up, I'll take the call as well, just to kind of give you a little bit of idea of what's happening, because I've taken quite a lot of them as of late. So you can book a call with me using the link that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zhen, and I run and operate a RE/MAX in the greater Toronto area on top of making awesome educational real estate content just like this. And if you're enjoying this content out there right now, make sure you spread the knowledge by smashing the like button and subscribing to the Prime Properties channel. Thank you very much. The first article we'll be covering is the one Sam Mizrahi and Jenny Coco's luxury building put into receivership, or essentially about to go bankrupt, for $1.6 billion in debt. That's a B. Yeah, it's a lot of money, right? So essentially, there you don't have enough money to finish this project, in short, right? But you can kind of see here, the current bank that lent up the money, and just keep in mind, none of these are like local banks, like, you know, your big five or big six in Canada. This KEB bank is basically a South Korean bank, and now they're basically essentially lending another $315 million, or like a little bit more, a little bit under 25% of what's already outstanding to finish the project. So anyone who's kind of in the industry, like real estate, knew this kind of had some problems. There were rumors like Apple's going in, it was going to be really great. But then like the way that they're building this thing with like the exoskeleton, it was just like a whole new thing, right? So like I'm not trashing what's going on, but the situation is just not dire, right? So what's happening is that $1.6 billion in outstanding debt is a total accumulation of things. And when those lenders are essentially like, hey, look, I don't think we're gonna get this back, they're basically filing a lawsuit to take control of the corporation, so it's out of the original owner's hands, so that they can try to recoup some of their money, right? So it goes down in different kind of tiers. So the biggest one being probably KE Bank with $1.2 billion of outstanding debt. The fact that they're lending, you know, like 315 million basically tells me this: they probably know they're not going to get their money back unless they finish the building. So the receivership is coming in, and they're probably going to take control and actually try to finish the building, try to recoup some of their costs. Now, I ran through the numbers previously. Like, they actually have, I think, 85% of the buildings sold over here. So you can see 364 condos out of the 416 condos have been sold, which means that the remaining 17 have to bridge the rest of the revenue. And you can see that total cost expected to go up by another $400 million. So essentially, it's like they're chasing bad money with good money. So like they're already in the hole so much, there's no way to recoup it. The only way to recoup some of it is to sink more money in and recoup some of it back out. It's just like a giant sinking ship, like a Titanic that's kind of, it's a slow train wreck, basically, where the Titanic's heading in the iceberg. There's no way to stop this thing, and the only real way is to recoup some money is to finish the building and have the buyers get a mortgage, pay them out, and recoup some of the money. Now, what's going to happen to these buyers is this. There's generally, I would say, two things that will likely happen. One, the building completes, and you get your unit for the price you paid for it. I think it was in 2017, which I think, relatively speaking, is probably still a good deal. The second is that they're going to try to basically go back to some buyers, depending on like what the numbers are and whether some people will back out, and they'll ask them to increase the price if they want to keep the unit, right? And with such a big, I don't want to say the word scandal, but like a big commotion of what's happening, I feel like some buyers, if they're given an opportunity to back out, they will. But some people are like, well, I got this for, call it like, $1,200 a foot at the time, right? And now it's like $1,600, and it's the one, right? So some people may want to stick around. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but that's probably one scenario. So right now, no one really has an idea what's going to happen. They're waiting for basically the receivership to give some kind of indication, because they're doing their due diligence right now. So again, they're at the 40th floor right now. They are about $2 billion going to take to build this thing. They already owe 1.6. So let's say that's like about, I don't know, like 75% of the money used to get to 40 stories. They need to go to 90. So it's just like poured concrete on it right now. The fact that they think it's going to exceed 2 billion, probably. Is it going to exceed more than that? Probably. Because don't forget, when, 2017 they sold it, like we've had inflation on construction, labor, there's financing costs, like rumors where these guys were at like double-digit loans when it was like, 0.25% interest rate. It's just a crazy thing, right? So this whole thing coming apart, I think some people expected, but it's a really, really big story. And this, unfortunately, how the cookie crumbles, for lack of a better term, right? So that's one builder. The second builder we got over here is Bandik, and essentially it was kept under wraps, but then people weren't getting paid. So you have your contractors, your concrete company, your excavation, like the digging, the electrical form work, and just like your architects aren't getting paid. So essentially what's happening is if your trades aren't being paid, they're not going to continue working. And when they don't continue working, that building is not going to get built, which essentially says that, hey, look, maybe that company has a cash flow problem. There were talks of this before, but like it was always alleged. But when you have like, the Globe and Mail reporting this, they must have some trusted source, because if they report this and it's not true, I think there's defamation on behalf of the Globe and Mail, right? So this coming out is, again, another shocker. And this is why, like, when rates are this high, it's just the time under tension and how much stuff is slowly starting to crumble. And we're seeing some of these like bigger builders come up right now, right? Now, I would say these guys aren't like your billionaire kind of like builders out there. So you guys would know who like the big 4 or 5 of them are. They are still levered, meaning that they're probably affected by interest rates. But it's just a bad scene for kind of anyone who's a condo investor, seeing some of these like big guys coming, or like big-ish guys, going into bankruptcy. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Bandik. They have a lot of projects right now, a mixture of like freehold, and they also have like a high rise going in Grand Central Mimico. And that was a pretty good project. So like they're probably gonna like go to court. There may be some receivership to see what happens. What may happen is similar to what happened in the one, right? So they may go back to the buyers and ask for more money, or they may just cancel the project altogether. It's all TBD at the moment right now. But the one thing I do want to point out is if you see yourself caught in any of this, whether the one, Bandik, or there's some other smaller builders that have actually like gone belly up. If you're in a condo, specifically a condo, there is something called a termination date, right? So you can see over here, I just snatched this out of our contract. If it gets to that date, then you as the buyer have the ability to cancel the contract, right? So in this case, it's 2029, which is a very long time ago. This is a contract from 2017 or 2018, I think. So it's like 11 years, meaning that until this date passes, you have no option to execute on terminating your contract. Until then, you have to wait till the builder or the receivership or the person taking over, whatever the case is, tell you what options there are. And very likely, they're going to tell you, hey, the project will continue going, or they're going to tell you, hey, we're going to increase the price. But when you increase the price, most of the time, there's an option to exit and you don't have to go along with it, right? Because that's not what you agreed upon previously. So you may have an option to exit at that point. Now, whether they pay interest, whatever, TBD, depends on the terms of kind of like the offer to you. Now, if you get to termination date, you can basically see here, you get your deposit back and you're entitled to some delay occupancy and compensation and interest paid on that amount, right? But again, that's like 11 years of your money kind of tied up. So there's a lot of lost opportunity costs. And now that, everyone's still talking about inflation, how much of that money has been inflated away? So that's kind of the unfortunate thing for the buyer. But most of the time, if you're buying a condo because of the Condo Act and some of the carry-on stuff, your deposit is safe. Speaking of that, which is why I brought up this whole great title by Globe and Mail. Loophole means buyer deposits with insolvent builder unprotected. So this is talking about the builder state view, which I talked about, I think, earlier this year in May. So this is the company that was allegedly going for check kiting kind of fraud kind of shenanigans. But effectively, what this says is, I'm going to read it to you. Currently, if you sign a pre-construction contract to buy a freehold property in Ontario, so this is not a condo. So if you bought a detached, right, semi, a townhome, sometimes a linked home, right, like a freehold property, like, like a land-based home, likely most of the case, cash deposits are made as part of the deal and not required to be under legal trust. So for anyone who doesn't understand what that means is whenever you buy like a real estate property, even with like a resale, it will go into a trust account, meaning that it's audited, it's monitored, that money is safe. But when you buy a freehold pre-construction, that money actually just goes directly into the builder's account and it's not a trust account. So it's theirs to spend. Because if you were to buy a condo, it goes into a trust account, which is protected by the Condo Act. And also they can't really move the money out, as this article is saying, unless, there's a condo insurance. But I'm not going to really get into that. But essentially for the project, like the one and the one talking about Van Dyke, the deposits are likely safe, you'll get it back. Whereas in this one with State View, yeah, it could have been misappropriated, and you may not get it back, because if you chase that company down for money and they don't have the money, and you're, say second or third in line to get that money back, there's just not enough to pay you back, so you're not going to get that. Whereas if it's in a condo, that money's stuck there, right? And it'll have to go back to the buyers when it gets paid back out if the thing blows up, right? So it's very unfortunate, because State View, now they're saying like this loophole, which isn't really a loophole. It's kind of been like this for a very, very long time. Everything's fine in a bull market, but as you see, when we're kind of getting to a bearish territory, things like this kind of pan out, right? So unfortunately, anyone with a freehold home with State View may not be getting their deposit back, which absolutely sucks. Yeah, it sucks. And Van Dyke has some low-rise homes as well. So if, they go belly up and those buyers don't get the deposit, that's going to absolutely suck as well, right? So very unfortunate situation. But if you're in this situation, just go check if your house is being built and see what the situation is, because every builder is different. Some people care about the reputation, some people do not. So just, look at your own contract and who the builder is and see what the situation is and whether they built. And the final article we got over here is Toronto developers delay launch of 14,000 new condos as sales dive. So that's effectively what they're saying is, because nobody wants to buy, you got 14,000 units that are supposed to come online for sale. They're not going onto the market, and essentially they're dead in the water, right? So I think I talked about it before, where you essentially need about 75% of one building. So we'll call it a building of 1,000 units, right? You need 750 of them to be sold so that you can go to the bank to get construction financing, you get a draw, and they start building the project. But if you don't get to 750 units sold or 75% sold, you basically can't go and get construction financing, and you're stuck at the sales center and it's dead in the water, right? Because no one's going to slowly buy these units, because it's very hard to sell units unless you have a big raw kind of marketing thing, right? So according to Urbanation over here, in the third quarter, only 42% of the units launched were actually sold, right? So if you didn't make it to the 75% and call it a certain duration, it's very unfortunate. That project has to get shelved. Maybe depending on the builder's financing, if they have to service the land costs at high interest rates, maybe the project's dead in the water. Maybe if they got the land for cheaper, maybe they probably can survive the holdout. But in that case, they probably should have just marked the price down lower to get the project going. So it's very rough for the current real estate market right now, not just call it like homeowners out there right now, even builders. The only realistic people who are going to make it out alive are the ones who are really well off. So like in the builder's case, you have your billionaire builders, right, where they can buy these things cash, right? You don't even need like a mortgage pre-approval letter, because they don't need to go to the bank to get construction financing. There's like a handful of them. That's it. Which is the exact same case with like home buyers. If you're holding a ton of cash, you can take advantage, right? Because you don't need to get a mortgage and you're not subject to the interest rates. So unfortunately, when you have, call it recessionary-like kind of factors, and we are kind of in a technical recession right now, it's the rich that get richer because they can take advantage of people who got over-levered. And it's the same case with the developers right now. And what this all means in like the real estate market in the future, when like we're losing maybe another 14,000 units or they get delayed, it means nothing right now, because we're all looking at the interest rates and prices going down. But in the future, assuming immigration stays kind of the same based on the latest reports, like we have a shortage of housing, right? But that's a super long, like 5-10 plus year kind of problem that we have. We're just dealing with the current bankruptcies right now. Anyways, I hope this gives you an idea of what's happening in the real estate market. It's crazy right now. Like it's just crazy. And if you have any questions about what's going on here, maybe you got caught in something, or maybe you have a pre-construction that you're a little bit concerned, you could book a call with me using the link that's right here, and we can chat about what options you have or what to watch out for, so that you could protect your money and your deposits if you're in one of these situations. Anyways, hope this helps. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya. Now that I'm done watching this video, I think you should check out this video. And you know what? Why don't you check out this video too?